Light aircraft.
Light aircraft.
Light ale.
Light ale.
Lighted.
Lighted.
Light bulb. Light bulb.
Light-emitting diode.
Light-emitting diode.
Lighten.
Lighten.
We should hire another secretary to lighten Barbara's workload. As the sky lightened, we were able to see where we were.
Nora didn't respond to my attempts to lighten the conversation.
His whole face would lighten when anyone mentioned Nancy. His whole face would lighten when anyone mentioned Nancy.
You need to lighten up a bit. You need to lighten up a bit. Lighter.
Lighter.
Light-fingered.
Light-fingered.
Light green.
Light green. Light green consumers. Light green investments.
Light-headed.
Light-headed.
The sun and the wine had made him a little light-headed.
Light-hearted.
Light-hearted.
A light-hearted comedy. I found her in a light-hearted mood. Light heavyweight.
Light heavyweight.
Lighthouse.
Lighthouse.
Light industry.
Light industry.
Lighting. Lighting.
Better street lighting might help to reduce crime. Better street lighting might help to reduce crime.
Fluorescent lighting is much cheaper to use than light bulbs. Fluorescent lighting is much cheaper to use than light bulbs.
Lighting rig.
Lighting rig.
Lightly.
Lightly.
I knocked lightly on the door.
A lightly greased pan.
Lightly armed soldiers.
Divorce is not a matter you can afford to take lightly. Divorce is not a matter you can afford to take lightly. He got off lightly because his father was a lawyer. Things will be fine, he said lightly.
Light meter.
Light meter.
Lightning.
Lightning.
2 farm workers were struck by lightning.
Lightning flashed overhead.
Mitch moved like lightning and caught the little girl before she fell. Mitch moved like lightning and caught the little girl before she fell.
A lightning attack.
Lightning bug.
Lightning bug.
Lightning conductor.
Lightning conductor.
Lightning rod.
Lightning rod.
The senator has become a lightning rod for criticism.
Lightning strike.
Lightning strike.
Light pen.
Light pen.
Light pollution.
Light pollution.
Light railway.
Light railway.
Light ship.
Light ship.
Light show.
Light show.
Light stick. Light stick.
Lights out.
Lights out.
Lightweight.
Lightweight.
An intellectual lightweight. A torch made from lightweight plastic.
A lightweight jacket. A lightweight novel.
Light year.
Light year.
A star 3,000 light years from Earth. The Japanese company is light years ahead of its European competitors. The Japanese company is light years ahead of its European competitors.
It all seems light years ago now. It all seems light years ago now.
Lignite.
Lignite.
Likeable.
Likeable.
A friendly, likeable little boy.
Like.
Like.
Her hair is dark brown like mine.
A club should be like a big family.
He eats like a pig.
The garden looked like a jungle. At last, he felt like a real soldier.
My experience is very much like that described in the book.
He's very like his brother.
Sometimes you sound just like my mum.
He's growing more like his father every day.
He looked nothing like the man in the police photograph.
What's their house like inside?
What are Dan's parents like?
Things like glass, paper and plastic can all be recycled.
Try to avoid fatty foods like cakes and biscuits.
It's not like Stephen to be late.
It's just like her to run away from her responsibilities.
You have to fold the corners back, like so. You can't give up your job just like that.
The machinery alone will cost something like £30,000.
He scored something like 60 goals this season.
20 years ago, travel was nothing like as easy as it is now. This will be nothing like enough money. This will be nothing like enough money.
There's nothing like a nice cup of tea.
The builders say they'll be finished in 3 months, but I think it'll be more like 6.
That gives us a total of 52. That's more like it.
She sat down by the pool and took a sip of her wine. This is more like it, she said. She sat down by the pool and took a sip of her wine. This is more like it, she said.
Poor David, she said. Poor Harriet, more like it. I think she's a lovely lady. What are you like?
I like your jacket.
I don't really like classical music. Do you like this colour?
I like my coffee quite weak.
I don't like it when you get angry.
How do you like living in London?
I don't like talking in public.
I like to see people enjoying themselves.
I quite like their new album. We really liked the film.
The time I like best is the evening when it's cool.
One of the things I like about John is his sense of humor.
I didn't like the idea of being a single parent.
Jessica's really nice, but I don't like her boyfriend. You'll like my brother.
I really like Sam.
She's a lovely girl and I like her very much.
In time, I got to like her.
I don't like dishonesty.
I don't like the way he shouts at the children.
He's never liked talking about people behind their backs.
I don't like him taking all the credit when he didn't do any of the work.
She doesn't like to swear in front of the children.
I like to get up early and get a bit of work done before breakfast.
We like our students to take part in college sports activities.
I'd like a cheeseburger, please.
I'd like to see that film.
There's something I'd like to tell you.
I'd like to apologize for my behavior yesterday.
I'd just like to say how grateful we are for your help.
He would like us all to be at the meeting. Would you like a drink?
What would you like to eat?
Contact our office if you would like more information.
Would you like to come with us?
How would you like to spend the summer in Italy?
Would you like me to pick you up in the morning?
You can sit wherever you like.
You can choose anything you like from the menu.
You know you're welcome to stay with us as long as you like.
Take as many as you like.
Like it or not, people are often judged by their appearance.
I'd like to think that we offer an excellent service. I'd like to think that we offer an excellent service.
I would like to believe that the company can be successful in the future.
I can give you her phone number if you like. If you like, I could go with you. Shall we get a takeaway on the way home? If you like. We don't have a proper agreement, but we have an informal understanding, if you like.
Do you think Alex likes me?
I'd like to see you organise a conference.
How would you like being left alone for hours in a strange place?
How would you like it if someone treated you in that way?
I like that. She didn't even say thank you.
We all have our own likes and dislikes when it comes to food.
Soldiers, policemen and the like were all called in to help with the emergency. Soldiers, policemen and the like were all called in to help with the emergency. They believe that the government does not spend enough money on health, education and such like.
I don't want you spending time with the likes of him.
Information is collected through the likes of the FBI, CIA and Scotland Yard.
This will be a show the like of which has never been seen before.
The man was a genius. We shall not see his like again.
No one else can score goals like he can.
Don't talk to me like you talk to a child.
Like I said, I don't mind helping out on the day.
I'm sorry, but like I say, she's not here at the moment.
He looked at me like I was mad.
It looks like it's going to rain.
This meat smells like it's gone bad.
The water was, really cold.
I was just, standing there.
I asked Dave if he wanted to go, and he's like, no way.
She was like, huh?
The ambulance will be too late, as like as not. The second dispute was sorted out in a like manner. The second dispute was sorted out in a like manner.
They get on well together because they are of like mind.
Try to buy 2 fish of like size.
Like.
Like. A jelly-like substance.
Childlike simplicity.
Ladylike behaviour.
Likeable.
Likeable.
Likelihood.
Likelihood.
Using a seatbelt will reduce the likelihood of serious injury in a car accident.
There was very little likelihood of her getting the job. They must face the likelihood that the newspaper might go bankrupt.
If I refused, it would in all likelihood mean I'd lose my job. If I refused, it would in all likelihood mean I'd lose my job.
Likely.
Likely.
Snow showers are likely tomorrow.
What are the likely effects of the law going to be?
The most likely cause of the problem.
Children who live in the country's rural areas are very likely to be poor.
Young drivers are far more likely to have accidents than older drivers.
It is more than likely the votes will have to be counted again.
It could have been an accident, but that was hardly likely. He could offer no likely explanation when I asked him.
The 3 most likely candidates for president.
One likely source of energy is wind power.
I'd very likely have done the same thing in your situation.
As likely as not, the meeting will take place in the village pub.
He said you'd be giving them a lift, not lightly. Like-minded.
Like-minded.
A chance to meet like-minded people.
Liken.
Liken.
Critics have likened the new theatre to a supermarket.
Likeness.
Likeness.
Hugh's uncanny likeness to his father. I can see the family likeness.
That's a remarkable likeness of Julia.
Likewise.
Likewise.
Nanny put on a shawl and told the girls to do likewise.
The clams were delicious. Likewise, the eggplant was excellent. The clams were delicious. Likewise, the eggplant was excellent.
You're always welcome at our house. Likewise.
Liking.
Liking.
Jim and Keith had a liking and respect for each other.
She's developed a liking for theatre.
He immediately took a liking to Steve.
I hope everything was to your liking, sir.
Lilac.
Lilac.
A lilac dress.
Lilliput.
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 Lilliputian.
Lilo.
Lilo.
Lilt.
Lilt.
The lilt of a Scottish accent.
A lilting melody.
Lily.
Lily.
Lily-livered.
Lily-livered.
Lily of the valley.
Lily of the valley.
Lily-white.
Lily-white.
Lily-white skin.
You're not so lily-white yourself.
Lima bean.
Lima bean.
Limb.
Limb.
All the other countries signed the agreement, leaving Britain out on a limb.
He'd gone out on a limb to help us.
Limber.
Limber.
Limbo.
Limbo.
I'm in limbo now, until I know whether I've got the job.
The limbo of his 8 years in jail.
Lime. Lime.
Limeade.
Limeade.
Lime green.
Lime green.
Limelight.
Limelight.
Tad loves being in the limelight. The president's wife wanted to stay out of the limelight.
She's afraid this new actor will steal the limelight from her.
His few moments of limelight in front of the cameras.
Limescale.
Limescale.
Limerick.
Limerick.
Limestone.
Limestone.
Limey.
Limey.
Limit.
Limit.
A 30 miles per hour speed limit.
There's no age limit for applicants.
My wife and I set a limit on how much we spend on clothes.
Pesticide levels in drinking water are already above legal limits in many areas.
The limits of human knowledge. He'd reached the limit of his patience.
Our finances are already stretched to the limit.
There's no limit to what you can do if you try.
He had not been outside the limits of the prison walls for 20 years.
The public is not allowed within a 2-mile limit of the missile site.
Los Angeles city limits.
That area of beach was off limits to us city kids. His private life is off limits to the press.
You can come and go when you want, within limits.
I know my limits. I'm not an administrator.
I have my limits. You will not use that kind of nasty language in class.
A decision to limit imports of foreign cars.
Seating is limited to 500.
A lack of formal education will limit your job opportunities.
I limit myself to 2 cups of coffee a day.
The damage was limited to the roof.
Limitation.
Limitation.
Any limitation to the King's power could be permanent.
A nuclear limitation treaty.
Despite the limitations of the survey, it did suggest some general trends.
It's a good little car, but it has its limitations.
A limitation on the number of hours children can work.
The new law imposes limitations on campaign contributions.
Lilac. Lichen. Limitation.
A limitation on the number of hours children can work.
The new law imposes limitations on campaign contributions.
Limited. Limited.
There are only a limited number of tickets available. My knowledge of the business is limited.
The organisation has very limited resources.
So far, the education reforms have had only limited success.
Unfortunately, the drug is of limited value in treating cancer.
Limited company.
Limited company.
Limited edition.
Limited edition.
Limited liability.
Limited liability.
Limiting.
Limiting.
A limiting factor in healthcare is the way resources are distributed.
The job's okay, but it's sort of limiting.
Limitless.
Limitless.
Limitless possibilities.
Limo.
Limo.
Limousine.
Limousine.
Limp.
Limp.
A limp handshake.
His body suddenly went limp and he fell down on the floor. His arms were hanging limply.
Marino limped off the field with a foot injury.
The damaged liner limped into New York. The team is limping along in 5th place.
Young walked with a slight limp.
Limpet.
Limpet.
Limpid.
Limpid.
Limpid blue eyes.
Limp-wristed.
Limp-wristed.
Linchpin.
Linchpin.
Linctus.
Linctus.
Linden.
Linden. Line. Line.
Draw a straight line across the top of the page.
Sign your name on the dotted line.
The edges of the pitch are marked by white lines.
The goalkeeper just managed to stop the ball going over the line.
He raced towards the finishing line.
He was born in a small town just across the state line.
They were still travelling along the same line of longitude.
There was a line of fir trees on either side of the road.
The four men were standing in a line on the other side of the table. A couple of the posts were out of line. I looked in despair at the long line in front of the ticket office. I joined the line of vehicles waiting to get into the car park.
Customers stood in line for 20 minutes at the cash register. He tried to cut in line. The woman next in line began to mutter to herself.
Light travels in a straight line.
A boat came into my line of vision.
I was directly in the animal's line of attack.
They knew they needed to block their enemy's supply lines.
She frowned, and deep lines appeared between her eyebrows.
There were fine lines around her eyes. There were fine lines around her eyes. No one can avoid lines and wrinkles as they get older.
I'm sorry, the line is busy.
There seems to be a fault on the line.
There was a click. Then the line went dead.
Henry is on the line from New York.
I got on the line to the hospital as soon as I heard about the accident. I wished he would just get off the line.
I'm sorry. It's a bad line, and I can't hear you.
Hold the line, please, and I'll put you through to our sales department.
Do you have a separate line for your modem? We were delayed because of a problem further along the line.
When you get to central London, take the Victoria line to Finsbury Park. The trail follows a disused railroad line along the edge of the valley.
There is a fine line between superstition and religion.
The dividing line between luxuries and necessities is constantly changing. Sometimes he found it hard to draw the line between work and pleasure. Sometimes he found it hard to draw the line between work and pleasure.
Her remarks did not quite cross the line into rudeness.
Large numbers of families are living on or near the poverty line.
She was wearing a loose dress which softened the lines of her body.
A modern building with clean, elegant lines.
He quoted a few lines from Shakespeare.
Scroll down to line 29.
He liked to introduce himself with a witty opening line. This was one of his favourite chat-up lines. Paul often messed up his lines.
It always took me ages to learn my lines.
I can't agree with the government's line on immigration.
Journalists are often too willing to accept the official line.
He found it hard to accept the party line on every issue. The school takes a very tough line on drugs.
It seemed useless to pursue this line of questioning.
Opposition parties soon realised they would have to try a different line of attack.
The police are following several different lines of inquiry.
We were both thinking along the same lines.
In South Africa, the press developed along very different lines.
More groups will now be set up on these lines. The company's rapid success means it's definitely on the right lines.
This is the latest in a long line of political scandals.
They finally broke through the German line.
Young soldiers who were sent to the front line to fight. One regiment was trapped behind enemy lines.
Reinforcements were available just behind the lines.
Decisions are taken by senior officers and fed down through the line of command to the ordinary soldiers.
There should be more direct discussion between managers and workers lower down the line.
She hung the clothes out on the washing line.
The fishing line snapped and the fish got away.
The company has just launched a new line of small, low-priced computers.
We usually start with general questions along the lines of, how do you feel?
They're trying to organise a trip to the beach or something along those lines.
The committee was split among party lines. The committee was split among party lines.
The community remains divided along religious lines.
You can book tickets online.
Most of our sales staff now work online.
A new nuclear reactor, which should be online by 2005.
If there is a power failure, the emergency generators should come online within 15 minutes.
Drop me a line and let me know how you're getting on.
I know for a fact you weren't sick yesterday, so don't give me that line.
Now that France and Germany have signed up, other countries will soon fall into line.
The few party rebels were soon brought into line.
Pensions will be increased in line with inflation.
UK immigration procedures will have to be changed to bring them into line with the latest European ruling. You just keep quiet. You're way out of line.
Anybody who steps out of line will be in deep trouble.
I should be in line for promotion soon.
He must be first in line for the editor's job.
As the eldest son, he was next in line to the throne.
From now on, all our jobs are on the line. She knew that her whole future was on the line.
I've already put myself on the line for you once, and I'm not going to do it again.
Acting's not really in my line, I'm afraid.
We need to get some kind of a line on these guys.
Somewhere along the line, Errol seemed to have lost interest in her. Somewhere along the line, Errol seemed to have lost interest in her.
There may be more costs further down the line.
Now, 3 years down the line, we're beginning to see the problems with the treatment. Firefighters dying in the line of duty.
As one of the president's chief advisors, he's bound to be in the firing line.
A couple of civilians were caught in the firing line.
He got 50 lines for being cheeky to a teacher.
She comes from a long line of actors. She comes from a long line of actors.
It looks as if Joe might be the last of the line.
This particular gene is passed down through the male line.
Henry VIII wanted a male heir to ensure the Tudor line of succession.
What line of business is he in?
She's keen to do something in the fashion line.
He runs a transatlantic shipping line.
Are those curtains lined?
A leather coat lined with silk.
The birds use small leaves for lining their nests.
The cage should be lined with straw.
Crowds lined the route to the palace. Crowds lined the route to the palace.
The street was lined with small shops.
A tree-lined avenue.
Line up, everybody! He lined us all up in the corridor.
The windows should be lined up with the door frame.
I lined the bottles up on the sideboard.
We've lined up some excellent speakers for tonight.
He's already got a new job lined up.
Lineage.
Lineage.
A family of ancient lineage.
Lineal.
Lineal.
Lineal descendants.
Lineament.
Lineament.
Linear.
Linear.
A linear diagram.
Linear measurements. Linear thinking.
Linebacker.
Linebacker.
Line court.
Line caught.
Lined.
Lined.
A fleece-lined jacket.